On today's show, the Dallas Mavericks find a way to get past the San Antonio Spurs without Victor Wembanyama. It's not very hard. But Luka Doncic passes James Harden for most 30-point triple-doubles in NBA history. Insane. What do we see from the Mavs? Luka, and which role player stepped up in a big way? We'll talk about that and more today. It's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
Dallas Mavericks are NBA champions. Bang! Bang! It's good! And the Mavericks have won the game!
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Where normally we would let it ride. I'm here at the American Airlines Center, though, and I don't have my soundboard with me. It's too big. It's too big to bring to everywhere. Thanks for being part of the show, making Locked On Mavs your first listen today, where the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day, leave a 5-star review, like the video, and comment anything below. Let us know in the comment section what stood out to you in the Mavs win against the Spurs. And joining me, as always, on a postgame, the postgame prodigy. What you got for me, Slightly Biased?
Feeling jolly. Feeling merry. Feeling... Is there another Christmas word? Are those the two ones?
I would start singing a Christmas song, but I think we get copyright strikes even if you sing a song that.
Yeah, especially me. My singing has been said to be great, so it just sounds so similar that the
too
YouTube
accurate.
algorithms, yeah, they always pick them up.
It's too accurate for it.
Been a problem for me for years.
We'll avoid the copyright strikes, I guess. On that. But yeah, it's a great pre-Christmas game for the Mavericks, a real palate cleanser from the last couple of games. Mavs get the win in resounding fashion, as they should, 144 to 119, almost scored 150 points in this game.
Yeah.
Insane. We'll talk about who stepped up, the role players. We'll talk about Exum. We'll talk about AJ Lawson. I thought had a good showing. Grant Williams, his shooting may be back. We'll talk about all that. But we got to start with, let's start with one thing before we get to Luka. Victor Wembanyama was supposed to play in this game.
Yeah.
I was here early. I wanted to see him warm up, and I wanted to see, him up close and in person, courtside. And so I came, and he comes out finally, like an hour before the game, and starts to warm up. He warms up for about 5 minutes, and I saw him dunk. Just like he just did like a little move. Guys just do like these little like post moves to warm up, and then he goes over and dunks. And then I see him kind of run into a Mavs employee that is like Mavs have these employees that are just out there and available for the Spurs and opposing teams to just rebound. They just rebound the ball and they give it back to players, and they're out there just the whole warm up. They're just like available for them. And so Wemby, like I saw him out of the corner of my eye, like run into this guy, and then when he walks back around, I just saw him like so pissed, just like so frustrated. I could just see when you just look at somebody's face and you see like the face that they're making, the eyes that they're making, like the furrow in his brow, like just how furious he was.
That was me at the Crocs store today.
Did they not have your size? They didn't have like one of those little clips. Did they not have the right like kind of clips that you wanted them?
Man, I was trying to get Crocs for my grandparents. I did get them for Christmas. I had to wait in a line to get into the Crocs store.
That is a thought that has never entered my mind at all, is to wait in line to get into a Crocs store. Like, Crocs should be wanting me to come into their store, not me, like, waiting to get into their store.
They're having a moment, though. Crocs
We may have to unpack that later a little bit slightly.
Okay.
But Wemby was just so furious, and I was like, what's going on? And then our friend Landon Thomas had posted the video of it. Wemby actually steps on this Mavs employee's foot as he was going through his dunk, like, under the basket. And I didn't think this Mavs employee was doing anything ridiculous. Maybe he could have gotten out of the way, but like it was just a freak accident.
Yeah.
And then Wemby goes back into either the locker room or wherever, but then he comes back and he keeps warming up. So he warmed up again. I was like, okay, fine, he's gonna play. And then all of a sudden he wasn't announced in the starting lineup when he had been said that he was gonna start. Spurs social media had said he was gonna start and all that, and then he doesn't. And you're like, okay, what's happening? He's a late scratch. He had already been on a minutes restriction lately. He hadn't been playing a lot of minutes. I talked to a Spurs fan today that came up with a friend that I had met before that's a Locked On Mavs fan, and he was like, yeah, I just want Wemby to play. He's been on this minutes restriction, and can we just get him to play? And then he didn't at all. And he didn't play in this game. Massive bummer, because it's so fun to see him in person. I haven't seen him since Summer League, but yeah, that was just a bummer all around that we didn't get to see Wembanyama.
Yeah, that definitely sucks, especially for like Spurs fans in the area, and then Mavs fans
There's
too.
a lot here.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of like transplants and stuff, and then also too, you look at the schedule. all right, 2 days before Christmas, Mavs, Spurs, get to see Wembanyama and Luka, and then Wemby's not playing. I mean, that sucks. But it was like, looking at the video, it was just clearly a very unfortunate series of events. I mean, nothing like crazy or malicious.
Unless, no, I'm just kidding.
Unless he was planted there. Hey,
Yeah,
we watched the film on Wemby's warm-ups. He's going to step right here.
Quite literally, in two senses of the word, planted. He was planted there, and he did not move from the spot, and was planted at that spot and did not move. But, yeah, just a freak accident. That sucks. But it made room for Luka Doncic to have another 30-point triple-double. Got it in 3 quarters. What did he finish it in? He finished in 32, under 32 minutes, Luka Doncic. 39 points, 12 boards, 10 assists in this one. We were waiting in the third quarter. When's he going to get that 10th rebound? Then he got 3, and then the 9th assist. He almost got it from Hardy, who inexplicably grabbed a pass and just tried to drive with it, which was frustrating. But then he finally got it from who else but Dwight Powell? What'd you see in Luka's another 30-point triple-double?
I mean, just another, almost like a rolled out of bed game. Like, he didn't do anything like too crazy for Luka. It was just Luka doing Luka things.
Cato tweeted it was his messiest game ever.
Really? Like, yeah, I mean, that's just what it was. It's just like, I mean, I don't know. He just did Luka things. It kind of makes me sad sometimes thinking about this because, like, for a lot of fan bases, like, your player dropping a 39-point triple-double in 32 minutes is, like, one of the most insane performances in your franchise's history.
We got to look up if the Hornets have ever had a player with a 30-point triple-double, like maybe ever.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And Luka just churns these out. It's just like, he's just unbelievable. And we really shouldn't take him for granted. I mean, like, he's not going to be around forever. There's going to be a time, hopefully like 20 years from now, multiple championships from now.
There it is.
We're just like,
that's right.
Where you're like, man, Luka in his prime he was a problem. And you're telling your grandkids.
Because they're gonna look back, because the grandkids are gonna see him in his like old Dirk era, right? Because he's gonna be a step slow, and you're like, how did this guy ever dominate the league? But he is right now. 36 total 30-point triple doubles in his career so far. He passed James Harden. James Harden at 35. I guess he's present tense. LeBron James is next at 37. Luka could tie him on Christmas against against the Suns, whose defense is not very good, and Luka could definitely do that. After that is Russell Westbrook at 48, and then Oscar Robertson at 106. He's a way off from Oscar Robertson. But Westbrook definitely in sight. He could pass and get to second. Like next year, I guess, he could if he keeps this up. I mean, he's just been on another level. I think the thing that's been different about Luka is he can get to his spot whenever he wants. It just feels like his foot speed, his handle is so tight, he can get to a spot, and he's been hitting these like little bank shots, these little floaters around the rim. It just is like when you talk about a guy as a 3-level scorer, like, all right, he can hit the 3, which we know with Luka. He's going to hit the step-back 3. He's been hitting more catch-and-shoot 3s this season. He hit a wild catch-and-shoot corner 3 in this game. He can get to the rim, and you're like, okay, he can get to the rim, and then he can get to the free throw line. That's a whole other area where you can finish around the rim and all that. And then the third level is usually like mid-range shooting. Luka has this fourth level of scoring where it's like mid-range. It's like right in the middle between where he can get to a spot. It's a sort of a post-up, sort of a drive. Then he just pulls up and hits a floater off of it. And I think he's done that in the past before, but he's really going to it. Anytime they single cover him, he's just like, I'm going to get to that spot. And then if you send help, it better be quick. And you guys better double me real quick or else I'm just getting to that spot and rising up over the help.
Yeah, I wonder if there's any stats on that because it does feel like he uses the glass more this year than he ever has. I mean,
how does cleaning the glass not have bank shots?
Yeah, come on, it's in your name. But no, yeah, he's just in such control of the game right now. I mean, just on another planet. Like there's no defensive coverage that throws him off. There's nothing like it's just going to boil down to if he's hitting threes, okay, you're in a lot of trouble. And then if you're sending a ton of help at him because he's hitting threes and the rest of the players on the Mavs are hitting threes in response to that, then you're probably going to lose the game. Like that's just where the Mavs are at as a team currently. And why like a game like last night where, Grant Williams struggles and Derek Jones Jr. struggles. It's like, oh yeah, these guys are going to struggle when this generational playmaking talent is not on the floor with them. And I'm talking about Dante Exum.
He felt in the third quarter. It felt like Dante Exum was. All right, coming up, let's get into how the Mavs won this game, the third quarter, how they really went on a run, what role players really stood out. We'll talk about that and more coming up. Today's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. BetterHelp will help you in all kinds of situations that you're in. Everyone has a moment where you just need to talk to somebody. You need somebody that is on your side that will be willing to sit there and listen. You get the like 55-minute session, and like sometimes you just need that entire time to just like unload and not trauma dump on somebody, but do it on a professional and actually talk about the things that you're dealing with, the things that you're working through. I've benefited from therapy. I still go to therapy. I recommend it for everybody. Everybody's got something. Whether you think it's too small, your stuff is not too small. If it's big to you, it's big to you. That is something that I've lived by and learned a lot as I've been growing up in life. I don't know, like I don't know how to put that at this point. It's a season of giving. Give yourself what you need with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. Again, BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad. Man, shout out to the Raccoon Squad for showing up at this game. So many people came up. I did an unpaid cameo to somebody's friend Mary. So shout out to Mary, who I sent the video to. Your friend was great to come over and get that video for you. And then I just saw a bunch of people, including Slightly. You and me both, got heckled in person. It was the first time I think I've ever been heckled in person, where a guy leaned over the balcony right behind where my seats are and goes, "Hey, are you Locked On Mavs?" And I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Last night's episode was brutal."
That is hilarious. Being a podcaster getting heckled is objectively hilarious.
I said, "The game was brutal last night." He goes, "Yeah, better content next time. Hopefully this one will be better." Let me know if that was you. Let me know if this has been a better episode for you so far.
I thought last night's episode was great. Hey, if you want to learn a lot about a lot of things, tune in last night.
We talked about Giants. We talked about seasoning. We talked about all kinds of stuff on last night's episode.
Not a lot of basketball talk. So
there was not a lot of basketball being played by the Mavericks last night.
True.
Against the Rockets. But in this game, the Mavs get the win. Great win for the Mavericks in the sense that it felt like a lot of role players stepped up. We talked about Luka's contribution in that he was incredible. Luka, by the way, a plus 37 in this game.
Jeez.
Just absolutely dominating when he was on the court. A lot of role players stepped up. Let's start with Dante Exum. You mentioned him earlier. Dante Exum in the third quarter, it really just felt like he pushed it forward and felt like he was really one of the catalysts of that quarter for the Mavericks to dominate in that quarter. A lot of people have made the case, like, oh, Luka gets you paid. Come to the Mavericks and Luka gets you paid. I think Exum is definitely benefiting from Luka and some of the spacing for sure, and like some of the kickouts and like that. You go back to that Lakers game where he hit all those threes. It was wide open. But Exum's creating for himself. Like, he's doing a lot of stuff himself too. Like, I think we need to give Exum credit. It's not just Luka. He's really pushing the pace, getting his shot. Like, he had a little like drive to the paint, stop, pull up, like jumper. Like, that kind of stuff is stuff that it's not just Luka. It's him like actually creating some of this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, let's not forget he was a top 5 pick in the draft. So, and for what I remember, like some like scouts loved him. Like, he wasn't like, oh my God, Exum went top 5. Like, people loved him in that draft cycle. And he was injured a bunch throughout his career, and then goes overseas and plays in one of the most competitive leagues in the world outside of the NBA, on one of the best teams in the world outside of the NBA. And I mean, the game is just so slow for him. That's like one of the great things that he does. The game is so slow for him. His touch is so soft. If it like hits the rim or anything, it's bouncing in almost every time. It feels like it doesn't like these weird angles where it looks like it should bounce off, but it just spins right in. It's just incredible soft touch. That's something I was not expecting from his game. Really, was how great of a finisher he is, and because it's not just like dunking. It's just like he just like flicks it up there so quick, and like the shot blockers have no chance to even go after it. It like doesn't make sense when you watch it, but it just looks really pretty.
I'm like surprised every time he misses a shot around the rim, which is not something you could say about most.
I mean, how many shots did he miss total in this game? He went 8 of 10.
7 of 7.
8 of 10. He was 7. He was 7 of 7 until he checked back in, I think, in the fourth quarter, and
5 of 5 in the 5 of 5 in the third quarter. He had 13 points in that quarter. That's where I thought that he was just a catalyst. And like, let's be real about this Spurs team. They didn't have Wembanyama. They're the second worst offense in the NBA. And so the first half, I was actually frustrated with the Mavs defense because they were letting the Spurs get shots. They were letting them get the stuff that they wanted. And I was like, you're the Spurs. I didn't think that there were certain things that you did want. I don't know what Pop's doing with this team.
Yeah.
There's just weird things going on with it. He tried the Jeremy Sohan point guard experience. He didn't start Keldon Johnson today. Just really weird stuff going on. I don't know what's going on with the Spurs. But then the Spurs defense is also bad. And you're like, how are the Mavericks not getting exactly what they want at certain times? And then the third quarter, just, everything came back to the averages where the Mavs defense played to par, and then the Mavs offense came out and actually scored and pushed stuff in transition and got all the stuff that they wanted.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was a clear and obvious tactic, I think, by the Mavs. They were cool Sohan shooting threes. They were just not even closing out. 3 of 3 from 3 in the first half. You let some of these shooters you let some of those guys see shots go down. That's why I don't love the just letting guys shoot threes tactic. I mean, I do kind of understand it. But think about that Lakers game where Exum went nuclear from 3 and had a great game. Like, these are NBA players. They'll make shots, and then once they start making a few, their confidence gets up, and they start, doing the things Sohan was doing with those little, like, post-ups and post-hooks and stuff.
Ben Simmons would disagree with you on that.
Yeah,
whole
well,
thing.
I don't count him as an NBA player.
Oh, neither do the Nets right now, as he is not playing. So, but yeah, the Mavs. I mean, this is another game where you take care of business, and the Mavs did take care of business. They went in there third quarter. It was a real big, like, all right, we're back. Luka didn't have to play the fourth quarter, which was awesome. You love to see that. He's been playing a ton of minutes. They essentially rested him the last game against the Rockets, and so it was good to see him get that. We talked about Dante Exum. AJ Lawson has been a revelation the last couple of games. He played real minutes in both of these. It's not just been garbage time. He's finished with 17 points in this one. He had a couple of rebounds. He had a couple of steals. He hit 3 threes. Like, he has been pretty good. He's been standing out to me.
Yeah, no, he's I mean, he does a lot of things you want Josh Green to do. I mean, that's just Josh Green has the playmaking edge over him, but AJ, he's just he is blindingly fast.
He is, man. He's quick.
I wonder the last time the Mavericks had a player as like fast as he is when he gets out in like open court, when he like on his steals, whenever he pokes the ball away and he's like right there, right next to the guy that he's guarding, and he gets the ball. I mean, it's over. He's beating that guy to the end of the floor 10 times out of 10, and it's going to be a breakaway dunk. Like, it's great to see. I love AJ Lawson's energy. I've loved it since last season. It is just hard penciling minutes in for him with just the roster construction and stuff, but he keeps playing like the way he's played the last 2 nights. I know the last night's game was garbage, but I mean, he played pretty well in that game too.
It was garbage, but he was not.
Yeah, he was not garbage. And these guys next to Luka, if you catch the ball and shoot threes and they go in, you'll have a good chance of playing. Or if you just rip and go and dunk, he had one of those plays too, where he caught the ball and the tiny little head fake and then attacked and dunked. You're going to get minutes.
Talking about him doing a lot of things Josh Green does, how many times are we going to have a player this season replace Josh Green essentially? We've already had Derek Jones Jr. replace him in the starting lineup, or at least where we thought he was going to be, and Jason Kidd thought otherwise.
Yeah.
Then Dante Exum comes in, and you're like, all right, he's the better Aussie on this team. He's doing a lot of things we thought Josh Green would do. And now AJ Lawson in these 2 games has done more things. Like, Josh has been replaced now, it feels like 3 times throughout this injury. Man, his spot was right there for him, and it just seems like these guys are stepping up.
But, competition is good, though. It's a good thing to have. Yeah. Especially for somebody who hasn't like got a stranglehold on their spot in the rotation, which Josh Green hasn't. And then it's times like you see AJ Lawson, he does on offense, he does 2 things. He's either going to catch and shoot or drive and dunk. Like, there's not a lot of in between there. And sometimes it feels like Josh Green could actually take from that and just be like, all right, dude, just shoot the ball if you're open or attack the rim and dunk. Don't try to do, a crazy 360 spin pass. Like, let's just no jump passes. Just reel it in a little tiny bit.
Yeah, it's like him and Hardy have both really struggled with that. Like, their choices are not just binary, right? Every other role player feels like their choices are binary. It's take this shot, or maybe it's try Mary. they have 3 choices basically: take this shot, make another pass, or maybe try a drive and try like something else.
Yeah.
And Josh, it feels like he can do a bunch of different things. Hardy, it feels like he can do a bunch of different things. And then they get frozen in that spot where you have to make that quick split-second decision. And there's a lot of pressure because there's Luka staring over at you or Kyrie staring over at you.
Yeah.
Or, the Mavs are in a spot where they need a bucket because they always need a bucket because their offense is their defense right now, according to Jason Kidd. And I agree with him.
Yeah.
And so it's just a lot of pressure on that. When am I going to get the ball back kind of pressure too because of how the Mavs offense runs? Like, it's just tough to be in that spot and tough to figure it out. But these guys are still young. Josh Green's 23.
Yeah.
Jaden Hardy's 21. Like, I mean, this is a really young team. I was also reminded about how young this team was. Have you seen the clip going around of Luka and Lively and Dexter Dennis and Greg
Yeah,
Brown
I posted it
on the bench?
Yeah.
So funny. Where they've got to be explaining some kind of game. Like, have you ever played the game where you like do the OK sign and you put it below your waist and somebody's got to look at it?
Yeah.
They're like explaining that type of a game to him, but then Luka takes his hand and like puts his finger like through the hole in his hand, and it was just really weird. And then Dexter Dennis pats him and says, "Hey, you're on TV," and points right at the camera. Luka looks at it, turns beet red, and like puts his head in his hands, and then Lively is cracking up. Greg Brown is cracking up. It was just one of those moments where you're just like, they're just like kids. These are like essentially college age kids with Lively. Like Luka's 24. I was 24 in college. Like there's been a lot of people that are that age still and are considered college age. Like it was just fun to watch them, and the vibes were pretty immaculate with that group at that point.
The vibes for this team have been good this year. Like that's the big difference. Even they were just on a 3-game losing streak. What is your opinion on this? Because I kept seeing this on Twitter today that tonight was a must-win game, and I'm thinking like, is the sky like falling if they lose tonight? I mean, I guess the vibes would be in the toilet, but it's not like a season ender if they lost tonight. But
it depends on what you define must win as, right? Like I would have called tonight a must win in that you have to win a game like this to pad your wins. For a game like the Rockets game the night before, right? Just because they had lost 4 games in a row, it wouldn't have been like a season ender, or you're like, oh, they can't recover from this 4-game losing streak, because the Rockets game essentially didn't count. Like in the psyche of the Mavericks, we basically didn't take yesterday's post-game show seriously, and the Mavs didn't really take their game seriously the night before, because they sat Luka. Nobody else really played, it seemed like, and it was essentially a whole game of garbage time. And so I think in the psyche of the Mavericks, like, no, it's not a must win, but it's a should win. It's like it's a should win game, and it's a, you really should win this game if you're as good as you think you are. And the Mavericks, win this game handily, and so maybe they are as good as they think they are.
Yeah, no, I get where people are coming from calling it a must win. I guess in my mind, a must win's like if we don't win this game, like the season is pretty much
like
over.
One of the play-in games, Like,
yeah,
you literally win this game or you're out.
Yes, like there were times last year after the trade deadline, it was like if they don't win this game, like the season is probably tanked.
The Hornets second Hornets game.
I mean, the Hornets games, the Hawks games. It was like if they don't win tonight, it's over. Like there's no coming back.
Oh my God! You just
and we were right.
Hawks game. That Hawks game where JaVale and Christian Wood went nuts.
Yes, and that was after I was like, please tank this season, and I was furious. That's a terrible place to be as a fan, man.
What a weird turn of events that whole thing was. And now they got Derek Lively, and they won a game without Derek Lively.
That's true.
How have we not mentioned that? They're 1-5 now without Derek Lively?
Yeah, that's insane.
What do you take from that stat?
I think it's good. I think it shows that you hit a home run in the draft. And it shows you need a backup center. One thing we already knew. Can I say something about that?
I asked you to, so yeah.
Okay. No, I'm talking about the backup center thing.
Oh, about the backup. Oh, yeah.
Because I got eyes and ears everywhere. I see some things people say.
Little birds with their whispers.
The Mavericks need to upgrade the backup center spot. I don't want anyone to think I like Dwight Powell in the sense that he should be like, hey, don't need to upgrade. We got Dwight Powell. No need to upgrade off of him. Like, if I compare Dwight Powell to Rashawn Holmes or something, I think both those guys should get replaced in the rotation. Like, that's just how I feel. It's not like me saying one might be better than the other. It's me saying, like, yes, that guy needs to be the backup center moving forward for the rest of time, even though the Mavericks feel that way, it seems like.
Yeah, there's a certain point where they've got to take steps forward in certain spots, and it's obvious they need an elite defensive wing, and they need a better backup center. Like, it's just been true. We've been waiting for one of these guys to take that step forward. We've been waiting for a small ball unit to emerge, but I still think they need that elite defensive wing to make these small ball units really work against good teams. Like, they still have needs. Just because you talk about the choice between a Rashawn Holmes and a Dwight Powell doesn't mean that they don't still need that, right? Like,
yeah, exactly. Like, I think Dwight Powell's perfect, like 4-minute-and-a-half guy. Like, you need a little spurt of energy or something. Get him out there.
He can play in a game like this. He played a lot. I thought he played well in this game.
Dwight Powell had good minutes. And Rashawn Holmes had good minutes last night too. Like, they'll have moments, but they Mavericks need to upgrade at that position.
Apparently, Luka gave all the teammates and all the staffers bikes. And Tim Hardaway Jr. is riding that bike now through the the hallways behind where I'm, like, right under where I'm sitting right now.
That is pretty hilarious.
Tim McMahon just posted it. That is pretty funny.
I would love a bike. Those
Shout out
bikes,
to Luka. Luka really got into the fit man, like the whole like fitness craze where now he's giving away bikes instead of like anything else he could have given away.
too, from just an outsider's perspective, obviously, we're not in the locker room all the time, but like, I mean, me never. I don't know. Are you guys allowed in the locker room?
I am personally not. No.
Oh, okay. Ooh, you're on the banned list.
Not bad. No, they have tiers, and I'm on the second tier. Sadly.
Okay, that makes sense. But
even the people that are allowed to go in the locker room don't always go in the locker room. So
I think that's a strange thing, to be honest. But I do understand it.
It's been since COVID. They've changed that.
But it seems like he's really embracing the leader role in a serious way.
Absolutely.
Which is great to see.
I talked about that with Dana Larson 2 weeks ago. I think we really talked about how Luka has taken this step forward as a leader and like really getting like rooting for guys on his team and like being the guy that calls things out. Here's something though. Jason Kidd apparently just said in postgame he expects to keep Dante Exum in the starting lineup even when the Mavs get fully healthy.
Nice. I like that.
Who goes to the bench?
That's a great question.
Luka? Kyrie? Lively?
Luka's 6th man of the year and MVP in the same season.
Somebody's done that, right? Hasn't somebody done that?
That would be remarkable. I mean, who would be the closest? Like Kevin McHale had seasons where he was like incredible, but
I think Bill Walton was a 6th man.
Oh yeah, Bill Walton was a 6th man and an MVP. He was probably the only person to ever do it. Not at the same time though, obviously.
Yeah, the same season would be. Derrick Jones Jr. or Grant Williams. That's your choice, right?
It would have to be Grant, right? Almost just because you would need Grant Williams is just a little bigger.
If you go just by play, Grant Williams to the bench.
Yeah, Grant Williams to the bench, and Derrick Jones has just been better this season. That's just how it's been.
If you go by play this season, like if you just look at what this season is, then yeah, you do that. I don't know that Jason Kidd necessarily thinks that way.
Yeah.
So my guess would be that Derrick Jones Jr. would go to the bench if I'm just basing it off what I think Kidd will do.
That will be really interesting.
Because I think they have to make the Grant Williams Lively thing like defensively work for you.
Yeah. I mean, Grant, obviously you gave Grant Williams, a 4-year deal? Like he's in your long-term plans 1,000,000%.
Yeah. Derrick Jones Jr. could leave at the end of the season. He's an unrestricted free agent. So that's
and
another thing to consider for sure.
He's in like that where Bruce Brown was with the Nuggets a year ago, where it's like the Nuggets or the Mavericks won't have the ability to, like if a team wants to go out and pay Derrick Jones Jr. in the offseason, the Mavericks will not have a chance to match that. They would have to do like the Bobby Portis thing.
They'll still have his bird rights.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I could be wrong on this. I'm probably the wrong person to ask, but
I have to go back into I'm pretty sure they would have his bird rights to be able to match. But anyway, he's an unrestricted free agent, so he doesn't have to come back. He could get way overpaid for the number the Mavericks don't want to pay and do all that. Exum is a non-guaranteed next year. But he could
that's getting guaranteed.
He's also been playing really, really well for the Mavericks recently, and we talked about him today. But it's been undeniable. And with him and Kyrie and Luka, like he adds that level that we thought Josh Green would bring, like all the stuff.
I'm looking at Derrick Jones Jr.'s game logs. If you take out the game he played 6 minutes against the Grizzlies, he's been at like 30 minutes a game over the last 12 or so games.
He played 40. What the other night? I mean, he's played a lot.
That will be interesting. I'm very interested in that. Knowing Kidd is going to be like Tim Hardaway or something.
Let us know in the comment section who should sit. Is it Derrick Jones Jr. or Grant Williams?
I already know the answer to that.
But when we talk about this, why are people so down on Grant Williams? I think you and I talked about this the other day, but like,
I mean, it's just
he had kind of a bounce back game in this one, 4 of 6 from 3. His defense was up and down. I felt like in this one he was tasked with like guarding centers and Zach Collins and like stuff like that, which is what he's supposed to be good at, but they were mixed results. But
well, when your first 7 games of the new franchise is 15 points per game and 54% shooting from 3, like
sustainable.
Yeah, a shooting slump is going to look really, really bad, especially for like a fan base that a lot of them haven't watched you play really in your career, so they don't really know like what to expect, and they just see the first 7 games like, oh my god, who is this guy? But he's been struggling lately. There's no choice around that. He hasn't been very good. But I mean, who's to say he doesn't get hot again and it looks really good? I think the end goal is Grant Williams comes off the bench for you. Like, if the Mavericks upgrade the wing spot and Grant Williams is now your 6th or 7th guy, then he looks much better. He looks much better.
And you didn't pay him that much. Like, you didn't really even pay him to be that like starting level guy. He's making, what is he making right now? He's
making just a little under the mid level. Like, look around the league at like championship contending teams. Those are like 6 or 7 guys.
He's making 9% of the cap right now. He'll make 9% of the cap next year. 8.7% of the cap the year after that, and 8.3. Like, it is not one of these deals where you look at it and go, "Oh, I can't believe they gave Grant Williams $25 million." Where he's
that would be
like, if it was that, then I'd be like, all right, he's got to produce a little bit more. But they didn't pay him like that.
No.
We hoped for him, but then again, the things that we hoped for him is to hit his threes. He's still shooting like 40% from three.
Yeah,
he's not going to add a whole lot else on offense. Every once in a while, he can be that release valve for Luka on those traps. I think he would have been more if Lively hadn't really stepped up and had been that guy where he can break those traps, where Luka gets doubled, Lively's at the free throw line, and then he gets the ball and kicks it out. So
That's
Grant hasn't been asked to do that very often, but he's doing the other stuff. He hasn't been as good defensively as I would have hoped at this point.
Yeah.
And I think he would have hoped too. And I had hoped for him to be the defensive, like, vocal leader at this point. That's going to take time too. That's going to take more than like 30 games that we're not even at. Like, and so let's see it work for a little while.
Yeah, all that stuff's going to take time, and I'm interested to see how it plays out. And I also think a big thing for the Mavs too is they probably see Grant Williams as a small ball 5 for them, and that stuff's going to take time too to like develop where Grant Williams is comfortable enough to be the small ball 5. And also, Derek Lively's been so good that you don't really need to go to the small ball lineups very often. There's no way they envisioned Derek Lively being this good. They could say all this stuff in the summer, like there's no way they thought he'd be as good as he is now.
No. I don't think anyone did. It's a great problem to have.
Yeah.
Let us know in the comment section who should go to the bench, Derrick Jones Jr. or Grant Williams. Let us know what you thought about this game. We will be back. I think I will have an episode Christmas Eve, but if not, we'll definitely be back. Slightly, and I will be back on Christmas night. That late Mavs Suns game where I'm hoping Kyrie will be back. I didn't mention this. Kyrie warmed up before the game. I got to see Kyrie warm up. He looked pretty good. He was walking around. He was doing layups and running a little bit here and there. And like, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that him and Lively come back for Christmas.
I'm not feeling good about it.
That's fine. You don't have to. It's your feelings.
Have you guys watched the Suns lately? Might not need them.
I feel good about that. Yeah. The 2 stars is going to be enough because I don't think they're going to have Bradley Beal. And by then, Booker or KD could have gone down again because it just happens with them. But anyway, there you go. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs. Peace out. Boom!